Party pooper. Okay, we'll go ahead and call to order the August 16th, 2023 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. Roll call.
Chairman Poland,
Here.
Commissioner Kohler, Commissioner Goldberg, Commissioner Flagg, Commissioner Lukacs. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Items from Planning Director Glenn Van Nimwegen.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, thanks for showing up tonight. I have nothing.
Next item is public invited to be heard. First call. This is for items that will not be coming before the commission as quasi judicial. And nobody has signed up. If there's anybody in the audience who would like to step forward. If not, I will go ahead and close out the public invited to be heard. Next item is approval of the minutes. We do have 3 minutes to approve, so we'll go through these one at a time. The first is the June 21st, 2023 meeting minutes. Is there any discussion, any comments, motions? Commissioner Flagg.
I move the approval of the June 21st, 2023 meeting minutes.
We have a motion. We have a second. Commissioner Lukacs.
I second.
Okay. Any further discussion? If not, Jane, I think we're ready for a vote.
Commissioner Kohler. Aye. Commissioner Goldberg.
Aye.
Chairman Poland.
Aye.
Commissioner Flagg. Aye. Commissioner Lukacs. Aye. Chairman, that passes 5-0.
Thank you very much. Next is the approval of the June 28th, 2023 meeting minutes. Any questions, any comments, any motions? Commissioner Flagg.
I move the approval of the June 28th, 2023 meeting minutes.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? I will go ahead and I will second it. If there's no questions or comments, Jane, let's take a vote.
Commissioner Kohler. Aye. Commissioner Goldberg.
Aye.
Chairman Poland.
Aye.
Commissioner Flagg. Aye. Commissioner Lukacs. Aye. Chairman, that passes 5-0.
Thank you very much. And finally, the July 19th, 2023 minutes. Any questions, comments, or motions? Commissioner Lukacs?
I move to approve the minutes for July 19th minutes.
Thank you. Do we have a second? I will go ahead and second that. Do we have any discussions? If not, let's go forward with the vote.
Commissioner Kohler. Aye. Commissioner Goldberg.
Aye.
Chairman Poland.
Aye.
Commissioner Flagg. Abstain. Commissioner Lukacs. Aye. Chairman, that passes 4-1.
Thank you very much. There are no public hearing items today. The next item of business is an approval of a resolution recommending City Council approval of the Sugar Factory and STEM Sub-Area Plan. Tony Chacon, Redevelopment Manager, and Glenn Van Nimwegen, Planning Director, presenting.
Mr. Chairman, maybe I'll make a few introductory comments and then at your pleasure, we can go through and see if there's any changes you'd like to look at or any questions or any discussion you'd like to have. But as you mentioned, we are asking for you to make a formal recommendation to the City Council, either approval with changes, or denial. We're asking that you approve it. And we last presented this, I think, on May 17th. Since that time, Tony has been putting in a lot of time amending it, which is frustrating because I spent some tonight trying to fix the document in certain areas. But had a lot of staff comments. We did get detailed comments from some commissioners, and we had some comments from your meeting on May 17th. Keep in mind, this is a higher level policy document, and you're going to see much more details, at least on the sugar factory portion of the project, regarding the annexation, rezoning, and the annexation and rezoning that'll have to come before you for your review and recommendation. I did want to give you an update that the developer of the sugar factory is making a rather detailed presentation to City Council next week on the 22nd. So if you can tune in for that, you can hear some of his challenges and what he's proposing for the site. So might be a good kind of introspection into this portion of the project. So I don't know if Tony's got any intro comments, but
Yes, Commission. Just to give you an update on the amendments that we made, we did receive comments again from staff and some of the commission members here, and we do appreciate that. We did take into consideration all those comments. Some of those, however, we did not embed specific notations. For example, relative to housing, like affordable housing, we referenced it as a diverse range of housing affordability, because at this time, there are various ordinances that direct how much affordability has to be put into various projects. Until those ordinances are changed, we can't impose that rule or a different rule on an area of a city for development at this time. So we did take that into consideration. We did also expand our respect for the indigenous community, and also extrapolated on that matter as to basically incorporate a recommendation that they, to the best extent possible, they try to recognize and respect in their development activities the indigenous populations from the area. So with that, I just want to point out those few changes. Some of them were rather substantive, particularly related to some of the staff comments, particularly as it related to some of the technical matters. And then also we took the comments from the commissioners into respect also. So with that, we'd be glad to, between myself and Glenn, having both worked on these amendments, we'd be glad to try and answer any questions you might have.
Okay, thank you very much. I will go ahead since nobody's stepping up right away. I'm just wondering, was the feedback from the historic committee? Did they have anything specific that they mentioned, or?
you know, we did present it to them, and they were really excited about it. And I don't know that and really it's about preserving the sugar factory and those historic buildings. So I don't believe they gave us any criticism or other things to consider.
Okay.
It was kind of an endorsement from them.
Any other thoughts? Commissioner Flagg.
Thank you, Chair. I'm wondering, I know you've gone over the document very carefully, but I don't usually proof a document. That's not my habit in reading over a plan. But I kept noticing you have some interesting typo kinds of things with F's and I's in weird places. One on page 19 caught me because there was like a gap in the word after the F-I. And then there was, on page 21, there were a couple of them on that lower paragraph on the left. And I kept thinking, is this some kind of a hiccup in the programming? And I just wanted to, I know you've gone over and proofed it and spell checked it, and I thought,
Yeah.
I gotta know.
No, I appreciate that. So just to let you know, the challenge was that this document, under the consultant's work, was done in,
Oh, InDesign?
yeah, so they used InDesign. They sent us the document in PDF format, and we were unable to get the InDesign. Plus, our staff is not versed in using InDesign. So, yeah, it was most probably a challenge between working the editing in the PDF document and the possibility that even though what shows up on screen, sometimes when you go to print or reprint, some of these
Gaps.
matters occur. And I do believe that Glenn said he caught a few of those after the fact.
Okay.
So hopefully we won't have that
Well,
issue.
I just had to know what was going on.
Yeah,
It just
yeah,
seemed
yeah.
so weird.
Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't get a master's degree for nothing, so, yeah. Although I didn't do very well in the English class.
Well, I did have an actual question. I know you have a lot of things in there that you're referring to that might be carried in something called a design guideline kind of thing. And I wondered if for this area, the city might contemplate putting together design guidelines for the two separate areas. Because one of the things that you're looking at is trying to look at the lighting in the area, and I know our ordinances tell us we're in a dark sky place, but I couldn't tell that looking at our lighting system all throughout the city. And my thought was, if you really want to have the lighting be similar throughout, are you going to need to rely on a design guideline kind of thing? Because you might have interim kinds of development that you wouldn't want people to get used to with strange lighting.
Well, a couple of answers. I think our ultimate goal is that we kind of put together more of an urban code that we would apply in some of these redevelopment areas. And I think this is kind of the precursor to that. So, and then also, more than likely with the sugar factory area, you'll see a plan development that will have very specific design guidelines that we'll use for that particular area. We do have some architectural standards for the downtown already, so STEAM might be covered. But that's probably how we'd handle the ultimate build-out of the sites.
Okay. And so along that line, one of the things that I don't think anybody thought of, and I know I didn't think of it at the time in my comments, was if we're talking sustainability a little bit here, did we at all contemplate roof gardens? I bet we didn't even think about that, especially the agricultural kind, and if we
Yeah.
wanted to have on-site interesting restaurants and stuff.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
we did not take that, specific types of sustainability elements.
Okay.
But the intent of the plan is that, yes, developers, we would ask them to come with all sorts of ideas. That would be possibly one of those. And we'd be working very closely with our sustainability division here at the city to provide some alternative thoughts to the development community as it proceeds. But yeah, we didn't want to get into in-depth listing of all the various sustainability measures because, number one, things can change so quickly over a short period of time that we didn't want to lock it in. And we've seen other types of plans where it becomes a little problematic because we're specifying certain types of elements, and therefore it's assumed you can't do maybe something else too. So we did try to keep it a little broad, but there's a significant emphasis in this plan on sustainability related to environmental conditions through energy conditions too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any questions, comments? Commissioner Goldberg?
Chairman, I don't have any comments. I think the documents are exhaustive and comprehensive and show great attention and, work behind them. So I'm not proposing any edits. If there's no other lights in queue, then maybe I'll just go ahead and jump right to a recommendation, if you don't mind.
Please do.
Okay, then I'll go ahead. Forgive me while I find the instructions here. Is it, I think I'm recommending approval of the Sugar Factory and Steam Plan as reflected in PZR 2023-6A.
Thank you very much. We have a motion. Do we have any seconds? Commissioner Kolar.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Are there any other comments? I was just wondering if you can quickly go over what needs to be annexed overall.
Yes, in fact, let me pull up the staff report.
who's the wizard right now?
So these are the two planning areas, and then the specific annexation areas shown on the last page.
Okay, so basically 3 areas.
Clarification, it's actually two
Oh.
properties. So the one at the top there,
Has
it
that-
comes to a slender piece and then goes to the west. So that's one one
Okay.
ownership, and then the other ownership is a separate ownership.
Okay,
So there's
very good.
actually two parcels.
And have we had communications, and do we see any issues with those annexations?
No, again, on both those parcels, we have them under, or there are developers with it under contract with the intent to annex into the city. The issue pertaining to annexation is timing, and the timing relative to various improvements that would occur on the site before the city would be willing to even take it to council for consideration.
Okay,
I think initially we will go to city council and say, are you interested in us taking the next step and moving the annexation along? If they say yes, yeah, as Tony mentioned, right now, we're of the mind that the site needs to be clean before we annex it. So there could be quite a bit of time between this fall and when you might see the formal plan and the annexation.
And if I can just clarify that, so, yeah, the idea is that it would be fully cleaned up.
Okay.
But to get access to some of the financial resources to clean it up may require it to be accelerated a little bit. So
Okay.
those will be follow-up discussions we'll have with management, and then make a decision. So I think the reality is, though, you're most probably talking at least 8 months thereabouts before we'll actually bring it for any formal consideration.
Consideration for annexation, okay.
Yeah, that'd be most probably the minimum timeframe.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Oh, Commissioner Lukash?
Thank you, Chair. I know was it on Martin, there's an area there that the firefighters use for training. I'm not sure where it falls on this map. Is that part of the STEAM area, or is it north of the STEAM area? That's not.
So
part of-
I assume you're referring to the training facility at
Yeah.
Boston and Martin?
Yeah.
That's within the
Boston.
STEAM area. And per the plan, it does foresee redevelopment of that property at some point in the future. But again, the city would have to relocate the training facility, there's environmental cleanup possibly associated with it and so forth. So we don't see that more immediately redeveloping, but we do believe that its time in the future would be for a redevelopment basis.
And they're okay with it, moving their facility?
Well, we have not had that discussion with the fire department. We've had that discussion with the city manager, and he's favorable, assuming we can address their concerns.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, and I know you guys have worked on this plan for years. I know you had lots of open houses and open meetings and charrettes and whatnot. And so I really like what I'm seeing, and lots of good ideas here. So thanks for your work.
Okay. Without any other people I'm seeing with questions, Jane, I think we're ready for a vote.
Commissioner Kohler? Aye. Commissioner Goldberg?
Aye.
Chairman Poland?
Aye.
Commissioner Flake? Aye. Commissioner Lukacs? Aye. Chairman, that passes 5-0.
Thank you very much. We'll go to the next item, which is public invited to be heard final call. Once again, there's nobody in the audience. Well, okay, Jerry, I don't want to say nobody, but seeing nobody step forward, I'll go ahead and close out final call, public invited to be heard. Next item is items from the commission. items from the commission. Our council representative is not here today. Items from Planning Director Glenn Van Nibwegen.
We hope to see many of you next week as we take up Bond Farms again. But other than that, I don't think I have anything for you.
Anything about the Kanemoto with the
Oh.
Boulder County's decision earlier today, I believe?
This is last night, actually.
Last night.
Yeah. See, the quick story is the Kanemoto Estates project basically has a conservation easement on it that was placed through our IGA with Boulder County. It is a little unusual as far as their conservation easement. It was for an agricultural easement. It wasn't for public open space. And it had a clause in it that allowed for it to be extinguished. So the board or the planning commission reviewed it with the county. They recommended approval. It went to the supervisors or commissioners in July, and they continued it after a lot of public comment from neighbors who were concerned about the concept plan and losing the open space, basically, were the number 1 and 2 comments. It was continued after about 4 hours of testimony, and it was taken up again yesterday, starting at 3, and it ended at 7. And they ended up recommending approval 2-1 to extinguish the conservation easement with some conditions. So the developer, Jack Bestall, did present some proposals as far as attainable and affordable housing. And they basically said, if that's what you're saying you're gonna do, that has to be done for us to do the final agreement in extinguishing it. So it did take some coordination between our city attorney and their city attorneys, because we're in a little bit of a standoff in that we don't want to go through our development process if that conservation easement isn't going away. And vice versa, they don't want to let it go away unless we end up annexing it and zoning it, basically. So what we're going to do is similar to the way we do annexation. The council will approve an annexation agreement, and it may be subject to a few conditions that have to be done before we formally record it and it's done. So in this case, we'll have 2 of those. We'll have the extinguishment that'll have the conditions that the commissioners put in place, and then we'll have our approval, which hopefully matches closely to that. If they don't, we're gonna have a problem, but that's the plan. So anyhow, we have a feeling that we can start our process now for the annexation concept plan. There is a land use plan amendment as well. So
So if that comes before us, would that be quasi-judicial then? The concept plan, right?
The concept plan amendment, yeah. The concept plan, yes.
Right, I'm just trying to, and do we anticipate that within the next 3-4 months?
yes, we do.
Okay, just,
We have basically been through our process, and it's just been kind of waiting on the county. So we still potentially have a wait because they are, I believe, still going to do some wordsmithing on that
Okay.
condition. And we want to make sure what we recommend is close, if not exact.
so at this time, we don't consider that as coming before us in the short term for quasi? I'm just, for next week, if we get people showing up for public, invited to be heard.
I think for the most part, the comments you'll be receiving, the commission, at least that I anticipate the commission will be receiving, wouldn't fall within the restriction.
Okay,
If it's discussion saying, I don't want the property to be annexed, I don't want to see any development like that, I think all of that is fair game.
okay,
If they say that, it shouldn't be zoned mixed use residential, it should be zoned something else, that's when we get into concern.
okay. I just want to kind of get that clear before next week. Any other questions, comments? Glenn, anything else? So We have the meeting next week, and then we'll have a meeting in September, only one.
I hope so. Yes. Right now, yeah, we believe there'll only be one. The other thing, while the map is up, the area that is not annexed, that's right above Clean Energy LLC, you may see that in September or October
Okay,
as well as possibly Kanemoto.
okay. Thank you very much. And then there being no other items, I hold this in adjournment.
Thank you very much.